Meet Codename Goose, your on-machine open-source AI agent, built to automate your tasks. Codename Goose is an intelligent and autonomous agent capable of handling complex tasks thanks to its core features. Connect with apps and tools you already use with extensions. Built on the Model Context Protocol, you can connect to extensions like GitHub, integrate JetBrains IDEs, access Google Drive, or build your own custom integrations for Goose. For a curated list of extensions, visit our docs. With a wide range of compatible large language model providers, you can choose and integrate your preferred model. You can also run Goose as a desktop app or through the command line interface using the same configurations across both. You can think of Goose as an assistant, ready to take your instructions and do the work for you. Able to handle a wide range of tasks across various engineering domains. Here are examples of tasks Goose has helped people with already. Goose has helped dive into a new project in an unfamiliar coding language, conduct code migrations such as Ember to React or Ruby to Kotlin, increase code coverage, and even generate unit tests for a feature, and much more. To get started using Goose right away, check out our quick start and be the first to know about upcoming features by joining our community.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. My name is Adewale Abati. I'm a developer advocate at Block, and I'm excited to welcome you to Goose Flight School, a series where we get our hands dirty building stuff with Goose. Today, we're going to be building something very exciting. We're going to be exploring using Goose to automatically build a web application right from your Figma design. We're going to be learning a lot. So if you're just getting started, sitting down, or getting ready to start cooking, get a drink, and let's get into this. Saying hello to everyone in chat. Hello, Angie. Hello, Rizal. Hello, Nena. Thank you for stopping by. So let's go right into it. What is Goose? Goose is your open source on-machine AI agent that automates engineering tasks for you as seamlessly as possible. And if you're curious, what is an AI agent, right? It's an autonomous intelligence system that is able to perform specific tasks for you without necessarily requiring human intervention, right? So you can think of Goose, like the amazing intro video covered, as your personal assistant that is able to stay on your machine using the LLMs that we have currently today as this kind of like its brain. And then you're able to execute a wide variety of tasks for you. So this kind of things is what makes Goose very exciting, and you can use Goose for so many things. But today, in this flight school, in this workshop, as we can call it, we're just going to be focusing on bringing Goose with Figma to make your designs come to life in an application. I'm excited to have everyone join us. So if you're in chat, just say hello. Let me know how many of us are ready to start building stuff, and then I'll see you in a sec. So with Goose, you can get started with Goose at block.github.io. Put the link on the screen. Yep, that's where the documentation and all of it is. So if you're new to Goose, you can install Goose for the first time here by going to block.github.io/Goose and then installation. Goose is currently supported on Mac, Linux, and Windows, but you can only use the Goose desktop application on Mac at the moment. But you can use the CLI on both the Mac and Linux, and also through Windows. Oh, my screen is probably too small. Let me zoom in. Yep. Right. So you can install Goose on Mac, Linux, or Windows, but the Goose desktop application is mostly just on the Mac OS. And once you want to get started with Goose, you can use the CLI to download this. Just go to the link. Let me see if I can also copy that and paste. Hi, Jude. Welcome to the stream using Goose right now on the site. That's awesome. I hope you're able to join us and start building as well. I'm going to post the link. It's on the screen, but let me see if I can post it in chat for anyone to get started even quicker. All right. Right. So our next step, how does Goose work? Right before we go into like building stuff with Figma and likes, Goose is using LLMs as its background, as its brain, but Goose itself is an AI agent equipped with like numerous tools by default to just create the experience for you to be able to have the agent do stuff on your behalf. And thankfully, there's something called extensions, and these are what's it called? Model context protocol servers that allow you to plug tools like Goose into different AI tools as well, into your existing applications. And then you can use those applications to interact with your AI tools, with Goose itself, and create something nice. So if you're wondering what kind of LLMs you can use, on the documentation page, you'll find a list of common or supported AI agents, supported LLMs, like Anthropic, Databricks, Gemini, Olama, OpenAI, and co. So let's just get into this and start building. So if you've not installed Goose, you go to install Goose. We're going to be using the Goose desktop. So what you just need to use download. And once that starts, you're going to download the zip file. And it should come up for you where you have to configure. When you open Goose, you have to configure your LLM. Right. It's also nice to know which LLMs people are using because excuse me. I feel like I'm producing the whole show here, just jumping through sneeze. Well, yeah, always nice to know which LLM people are using because, like I mentioned, there are multiple options of LLM that you can choose, and each one has its own strengths and weaknesses and the likes. I see someone in chat using O3 Mini. Oh, you went up to me. Fair enough. But yeah, this is supposed to be as interactive as possible. So I'm going to try as much as possible not to move too fast because it would be great if I can also get people to follow along and try some of this. So if you have any questions, please feel free as well to, drop a question in chat. And I'm going to look to the left and right every now and then to answer your questions. All right. So if I remember correctly, we've gotten installing Goose out of the way. So in configuring your LLM provider, let me zoom out a bit. If you have an existing LLM provider like Gemini, you can provide your API key in configuration here. So all you have to do is choose your provider. That is Google for Google Gemini, OpenAI, OpenRouter, or Olama, as the case may be. I already have mine configured for Databricks. So that's what I'm going to be using for our demo today. I think it provides access to Anthropic models. So I'm going to be using, what's it called? Claude 3.5 Sonnet. That's the LLM I'm going to be using today. But what we're going to be doing, you can do that with Gemini or with other LLM as well. It's just, the experience varies across LLMs. But we're here for you. I have also like my teammates in chat. So if you run into any issues, please drop the question below. So back to after all of this initial setup, back to the main thing we're doing today. The main thing we're going to be doing is trying to build an application right from a Figma design. And I have chosen a Figma design for us today. I'm going to share this in chat. 1 second. And then I'm going to open it on my end as well. Boom. So this is a community Figma design that just covers portfolio. And we're going to take this design to, we're going to bring it to Goose and have Goose essentially build out our web application for us using this Figma design. That is the essential plan for us today. So within chat, 1 second. Oh yeah, Goose is cool. Exactly. So if you just look in chat, you can copy. I think this is sent out to everywhere we're streaming. So you should be able to either copy from the comment section or what's it called? If it's not on your comment section, probably try and type that on the link. I'm going to leave it on for a second. But the plan essentially is for us to be able to use this Figma design. Let me open it real quick. Yep. And one second. Yes. So this is our Figma design. What we want Goose to do is to take this design and build out an application for us. That is our eventual goal today. Is anyone following along? I don't want to move too fast. So I'm just going to give a second while people check it out from the link I shared in the comment section. So that is the design we're going to be working with today. Now, the next question will most likely be, how is Goose able to do this? Like, how is Goose able to interact with my Figma or with my other applications, as the case may be, to be able to then bring this design to life? Because I mean, Goose doesn't just automatically have access to everything. And the way to do this is what we call the extensions I mentioned earlier. So the MCP servers. I'm going to start a new Goose session. 1 second. Right. So to get an extension installed on Goose, all you have to do is open up your Goose application. You go to the menu, settings, and then you come over here to extensions. I'm going to zoom in a bit, see if I can make it clear. Once you click on browse, there are two ways to add an extension. One of them is to add them manually. If you have all of the details, you can put the ID and co. Or you can go to our created directory of extensions, which I'm going to have open here. I've been zooming in a lot. So is this too big, too small? Right. So for my list of extensions, we're going to be working with the Figma extension that we have over here. And you can see the command if you're working with CLI. You can use this to start a new session with Goose. But we're doing stuff on the desktop app. And there are a lot of MCP servers, which are extensions for Goose out there in the world, right? So sometimes you might need to click on the MCP server itself to have an idea of what it's capable of doing, what you require, what environment variables, basically documentation for the extension. And in this case, we're going to be needing our Figma access token to be able to interact using this MCP. So to install this, you can click on install button over here. I think I have this. One sec. Yep, I just installed something nice that makes me zoom in on screen. So you just click on the install button on your on the Figma extension, and immediately takes you over to Goose. And then you can it opens up a new model where you can then get to install the Goose extension. I have this already installed, which is down here. But what you would need is your Figma access token. I did this previously because I did not want to show my token on screen. I guess it's a security risk. So what you need to do to get your Figma token is to go to figma.com if you don't have one yet. So we're going to go to Figma. You click on this, settings. Is it clear? Let's see. Oh, I like this. I like this feature. So you go to settings. Okay, I need to zoom out again. Damn. Okay, it's not zooming out. He's like, no, terrible feature. The new tech is messing me up. I can't zoom out again. Wow. Anyways, yeah. So we can go to settings. This thing just worked, didn't it, guys? I'm gonna reload. Interesting. My Zoom feature is logged into my workshop. I mean, it's working on other tabs, right, guys? I'm guessing it's a Figma website. The Figma website doesn't like it. Oh, damn. All right, let's go. Let's open up a new tab. Figma.com. I'm not gonna zoom in, I guess. Yes, Angie, I used the install link, and so I'm showing us how to get the the Figma access token. So you come over here to settings and go to security tab, and then you're able to generate a new token. I don't want to zoom in again before it. Oh, Angie, you were not asking me. I'm sorry. I keep jumping to the chat. So from here, you can generate a new token, and I really want to zoom in. Okay. So from a new token, you can give this token access to what you need it to be able to do. If we go back to our Figma MCP server, it kind of lists out what can we do with the Figma MCP server, right? So you see here, we can list Figma files in the project. We can get file versions. We can retrieve file information, access file nodes, and also it supports TypeScript. So we know that in this case, we are not necessarily able to create a design yet with this particular Figma extension. But I'm sure there's always updates and other people creating other Figma extensions as well. So at a later time, you might install a different Figma MCP server. But what we're able to do with this particular extension today is to be able to get the details, the design from our Figma, bring it over to Goose, and then use the tooling in Goose to then build out a web application. Are we cool? I'm checking chat real quick. Easy adding of extensions from a creator list with such a driver of adoption and model list for me. Such a hard thing getting other MCPs working. As I showed a few seconds ago, you can install extensions directly from like the extension side. We're constantly working on improving the number of extensions that you have here. So I mean, pending that, I guess another way is to add it manually. But yeah. So once we get our token, we provide read-only access here. You can provide write access to comments and other dev resources. You can always select write access. And then you provide a token name for it. I have my token set up, so which is here. I'm just going to close this. And okay, yeah, back to the design. Awesome. Okay, let me close this. I have multiple tabs. Boom. So now I have one second, guys. Let me make this small. Does anyone have any questions by any chance so far? Let me see. Yep. This is what we're going to be building. And I'm curious if anyone has any questions so far before I, go into the next step. If you don't have any questions, you can give a thumbs up. That would be great as well. All right. So we've pointed out how we can get our Figma server running. I have the Goose set up here. Oh, good so far. Thank you, Tanya. Nice to see. Anyone else? Cool. Awesome. Yay. Like to see that. So one thing you can also always do every time you install a new extension is you can ask Goose directly, like, hey, what can I do? Or what can is this clear? Or should I zoom in a bit? Can you guys see clearly? Okay. What can I do with the Figma extension? That also kind of gives you context on what is possible with any extension that you've installed. In this case, you're working with the Figma extension, but if you're installing any other particular extension at any point in time, GitHub, Git, blah, 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 you can also always ask Goose to give you a rundown of what is possible with said extension. So Goose is working, and he just gave us answers here real quick. So he says, I can help you understand what you can do with Figma extension. You can list the files, the version history, the comments, the information from the files, the components, the styles, which is like CSS and co, the specific nodes. I guess that is how. I'm not a designer, by the way. I don't particularly work extensively with Figma. So as we are doing this, if anyone has any Figma tips in chat, please feel free to drop that comment. But as someone that isn't a designer that doesn't use Figma, this kind of also makes sense for me to use Goose to build this up, right? So all we need is just provide a file key for the Figma file that you want to provide, that want to work with, or like or a team or project ID if you want to list files from our Figma access pod essentially. So I think that covers the extension, having an idea of what we can do with the extension. And we've gotten our Figma access token as well. We've configured our extension. We're going to go back to get the file ID. And if you're new to this, the file ID, let me see if I can zoom in here again. Can I? No. Well, Figma is against me zooming in. The file ID is usually the first, encrypted string, sort of, right after figma.com/design/whatever. That is your file ID. I've also seen cases where people essentially you can copy this entire link and give it to the extension in Goose, and it extracts the file ID for you, right? So I just want to point out that this is our file ID here, and I'm just going to copy it. And then we go back to Goose. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start a new session because I want to build the application in a specific folder. I don't just want to have it like lying around down here in my user/Adewale repository. So you can also always change directory with the Goose desktop application. You can do that to like open directory here, or you just click on the name over here, and then it shows you, oh, this is where we're going. So I'm going to go to workshops, Figma. That's a blank, empty, what's it called, folder. So that should start a new session for me over here. I'm going to close this, keep it clean. I hope you guys can see this. Just let me know anytime you need me to zoom in or zoom out. I'm checking the comments. So project ID also works. So not necessarily for what we're about to do right now, because project ID is going to give you, like, if you have multiple files in the project, I'm guessing you can also tell Goose to, like, get all the files and build out all of the pages, all of the project, as the case may be. You might run into token limits, but project ID just gives you like a broader scope of what to work with. So everything that's accessible under that project, Goose can also interact with it if you use project ID, like the documentation showed. But in this case, we're probably going to use like just the file ID because we just want to work with that file, and then generate the design from there. Sounds good? Awesome. So we're going to start with, I've basically just navigated to the directory I want to. The directory is currently empty. Do you have to purchase tokens in order to use certain LLMs in this use case? To work with Goose in general, you need to have an LLM, but you can use, what's it called? Let me see if I still have the tab open. Yes, I still do. So you have a number of LLMs that is available that is supported by Goose, some of which are free, some of which are cheaper than others. Ollama is also open source and local that you can also try out. So if you're going to use a paid, a paid provider like, like Databricks or Anthropic or OpenAI, then you most likely, or you definitely have to buy credits ahead of before you're able to build stuff like this that uses the LLM in the background. But if you want to try this out without buying credit, then you can, check out like Gemini or Ollama and stuff like that, and have that set up anytime you want to build stuff and anytime you want to work with Goose. I hope that answers that question. Awesome. Let's get back to it. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start our prompting. I was having a conversation recently, and someone says like prompt engineering or prompt theory itself is very essential because you need to know how to speak with Goose or with any AI tool for them to be able to understand you. And it's crazy because just like communication in real life, you can get different results even when you say the same thing to different people, or even same thing to the same person at different times and you get different results. It's kind of like how it works sometimes with LLMs. So prompting itself is very crucial that you are clear. I like to think of, anytime I'm writing a prompt, I like to think of it as I'm talking to somebody that is like right in front of me and I'm giving them itemized, in quotes, instructions so that they can always go through the steps. Checking the comments real quick. Yeah, I meant that Figma is calling this ID differently, but whatever Figma is calling, put your file, as long as it's having your Figma token, you have access to the file. Yes, 100% correct. Yes. And yeah, thank you, Vizel, for adding that. Yes, AI is non-deterministic. So that's the official term to call it, but I just, explained all of that. So let's just get right into our prompts I want you to start. I'm going to remind us of what the goal is. The goal is to get the designs from our Figma file, and we're going to build an application, what's it called? In this case, a Nuxt application, actually. If you don't know what Nuxt is a JavaScript framework. Let me see, Nuxt.com. Yeah, Nuxt is a JavaScript framework that allows you to build complex applications or whatever the case is, a view framework. And we're going to be using this to just generate, we're going to be using Goose to generate and install this application as quickly as possible and then bring in our designs right into it. Now, there's something that you need to know before we get into this, right? When installing Nuxt or any other tool, there's something they call the interactive. Let me zoom in a bit. Excuse me. There's something they call the interactive shell. And what this does is it allows you to, every time, for example, if you say npm, I'm putting this out of my head, npm create React app, it's going to ask you like, oh, what's the name of the project? So like where you have to like choose yes or no. Those things are called interactive shells. Right now with Goose, Goose doesn't currently support interactive shells. So it's critical for me to point out to Goose like, hey, I want you to install this or run this command in a non-interactive way. So I just wanted to point that out to explain the prompt you're about to write. So what do we want Goose to do? I want Goose to create. Is this clear enough, or should I zoom in a little bit? I'm going to zoom in and then we'll zoom out when I'm done typing. Oops, yeah. Okay, so far so good, right? Let's see. 1 second. So Goose, create a Nuxt application using the non-interactive installer directly into the current folder, and then convert my Figma design with file ID. Let me go back to copy it. I don't think I have it copied still. With file ID, this guy. Everyone saw it? Yep. And I'm going to paste it right here. Yep. Into the existing application that we just created, right? Into the existing application. Get specific, detailed information styling about each element. I'm trying to be as specific as possible, right? Section and components in each frame. Be sure to implement the design as closely as possible. Use Nuxt components. Let's see, and features as necessary, because we want to build it the right way, right? Not just anyhow. Another thing, if you noticed when we're checking out the features of the MCP, right? I think I already opened 1 second. When we're checking the features of the MCP, it doesn't currently support exporting images. I caught that while I was looking at this. So it means that while we're able to do this design, we can't necessarily export the images directly from the Figma design yet. But I'm of the opinion that, if I probably look for it, we'll probably find another Figma extension, or we're able to extend this current Figma extension to also support downloading images in the future. But I wanted to give an heads up to anyone else that's trying this. You most likely might not be able to download images directly yet and filling your entire design with images. But it's very possible for you to download these images yourself from the Figma design. For example, say, I just click on this and then I export the image. I've done that already, but I'll show you guys. So you can always do this. I don't know if there's a quicker way, because like I said, I'm not a Figma expert. But just heads up right now, you can't download the images, but you can do everything else. Let's go back to, so our final statement in our prompt is for Goose to use, you can use a placeholder div with a gray background for missing images, or missing assets, And like I mentioned about the interactive server, we also don't want Goose to go into running a shell in the background, like npm run dev, where it doesn't exit and we get into a continuous loop. So I'm going to ask you, if you need to run, ask me first. So now before I press enter, I just want to give us a little bit of insight into this prompt theory, or this prompt engineering, whatever you want to call it, right? I've tried as much as possible to highlight the things I want to achieve, or the things I want to do, or want Goose to do for me in this case, into this prompt. Sometimes, especially if you are using a free or a cheaper LLM provider, you might run to token limit if you have to do a large thing at once. Sometimes you can break down the steps so that you're doing you're doing stuff at intervals, right? So you could be like, hey, create a Nuxt application first, and get the Figma file details, or upload this image. So you can always do those iterations with Goose, but in this case, I wanted us to flesh out the entire thing that we want to do, so that Goose is able to identify the steps in the prompt and then go and do that for us. So I'm about to click enter, and I'm going to use the opportunity as well to ask anybody in chat if you have any questions, or if you're still good, let me know. So I'm going to zoom out again real quick and let's begin. Are we ready? Are we ready? Can I get a thumbs up? I'm about to press enter. Boom. All right, let's go. I'm also going to open, here we go, exactly, Dania. So it said, I'll help you create a Next application and implement your Figma design. Let's break this down into steps. First, let's create the Next application in the current directory. Then we'll analyze your Figma design. And finally, we implement the design using the Next components, which is essentially what I have asked it to do. So the first step is to create the Next application using npx Noxy init in the current folder, and it's using the false tag because I asked it to do the non-interactive installer. And one thing I also want to show us is while Goose is doing this, let me see if I can do this. I can also show you, because I have it open in my VS Code, to be able to find, 1 second, let me see if I can open it real quick. So we're able to see the file, the changes that Goose might be making in the background. So yeah, it's not showing up yet. Here we go. That's a good one. I like that. Here we go. So right now it's doing stuff in the background. It's loading. It's trying to install the npx Unix. Did I lose connection? Oh, yeah. I'm going to retry this real quick. I lost connection for a second. I think that messed stuff up. So I apologize for that. I'm going to bring this back, copy over the... I don't know why. Did you guys lose connection over here? Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, 1 sec. I apologize. And it already started installing Figma. So I'm just going to delete this. We already started installing, but I ran into a connection loss. So I don't want to... What's the word for it? I don't want to mess things up yet. So I'm just going to delete everything real quick. So we start afresh. Oh, I'm sorry. That was great timing. So I'm going to take this back and just refresh real quick. Same prompt that we used a second ago. I'm going to use it again. I'm going to run it. Don't lose connection again. Awesome. Sweet. I don't know if you can see this. Like almost instantly, it's created the files over here. Let me see if I can zoom it in. Can I? Okay. But it says, I see we had an issue with the Next installer. Let's try an alternative approach. Awesome. So now that we're setting up the Next application, let's examine your Figma design. I'll get detailed information about the file. So I have a couple of questions in chat I'm going to quickly get into while we are doing this. 1 second. Oh, awesome. Sorry that I lost connection there for a second. Yeah, how can I give Goose access to my local files? Once you open Goose, you can always change directory and specify what location. Oh, let me take up the comments. What location or folder that you want Goose to operate in? Because Goose is already on your machine, on your device, and it has access to what's it called in that environment, right? It doesn't go outside of the folder unless you ask it to. And you can always specify the file path. You can also click on the upload thingy here. To add a file for Goose to interact with. So I just wanted to point that out. Yes, awesome. Thank you, Peter. Awesome. Pawan, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Let's go back to what we're building. This is what we've created so far. I'm going to come back to the VS Code. So I'm going to put this to the side and focus on Goose for now. So it's saying, I had an issue with the Nox installer. I basically ran into an issue, but then he found out a different way to be able to install this with Nox. And now that he has it set up, like showed up in the Figma design, I think I should probably keep this on so that you guys can see changes as it's being made. Yeah. We went ahead to get the Figma design. This is often a large output, by the way. This is very large. Like it takes every information. If I start scrolling right now, I've probably scrolled for a long time. So it just gets all the details from the Figma and is able to process it down here. So it says, let me analyze the Figma design and help implement it as a Nuxt application. I'll break this down into steps. First, let's create the necessary project structure. It's doing that. Then we implement the components based on the Figma design. And then finally, we'll style everything according to the design specs. So it's going through like setting up the, what's it called, Nuxt again. And there's initialize this and everything. So it has a navigation component. I'm going to be doing a back and forth with the design so we have an idea of what Goose is actually doing. So it has a navigation component. I'm guessing this top is a navigation component. Yes, I think just with the sections over here. So there's a navigation component. There's a header section. There's a logo bar section, skills, gallery, testimonial, contact. So we can confirm that Goose is seeing all of that already. And now it's be able to create all of these components right here. So you have sections, contact, gallery. I should probably bring this up here. Can we see the editor clearly? All of this is still happening in real time. I think the changes are being made in real time. Like these files are still empty, or some of them are getting filled in real time. Let's see. So it goes, I'm going to create all these components. Let's start implementing the navigation components. And that's what I just opened. One sec. The navigation of view, the code is there already. We'll come back to it. Let's start implementing navigation components. Probably had an error with the file path, but it fixed it itself. And then we get the header section, we get the logo bar section, and it's still working, right? It's still working on it. So basically, it's going through the entire design step by step and implementing everything that we have here, right? I'm checking out comments real quick in case anyone is also having if anyone is trying this out. So let me see. I have, but my LLM is saying doesn't have the privileges running this. Is this an issue of LLM choice? Are you using Olama to run that? You can also ask this in Discord. I think it's probably something that needs to be a bit more hands-on, and we'll be able to fix it for you. Let's see. Yeah, maybe because of the LLM, exactly. So let's see. Cool, let me try that. I think model you use should be capable of chasing output. Yeah, the LLM you use, depending on the capacity or the capabilities of it, especially if it has tool calling, also determines the experience and the kind of like interactions that you can use with Goose as well. Let's get back to Goose. All right. So it's created the, where were we? Created the header section, created the logo bar section, it's creating the skills section. You can see everything that is adding right here with the templates. And of course, in my VS Code, I don't want to cover what Goose is doing, but you can basically see, I've not written a line of code so far. I've been talking to you guys. So it's creating all of this in real time and just taking the styling, even configure TypeScript. That's nice. The README is a Nuxt README. The package.json is just as we have it. App.view is still the same. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that we've asked so far. And he's still working on stuff. So let me bring this back here and collapse this guy. So we've created the gallery section, we've created the contact section, and now it's creating our main app layout and page. That should be the app.view, I think. Yes, app.view. So this is our main layout and page, and it's basically importing the sections that we've created so far into it. So if you remember in my prompt, we're going to find out now. I asked, what's it called? I asked Goose, like, hey, if you need to run a server, let me know. But now the next step is let's stop Nuxt configuration to use Tailwind CSS. I didn't specify that, but I think from the code, I think you can notice it's already using, what's it called? Tailwind. I'm guessing that's from the styling of the design itself. So it probably recognized some Tailwind class names or whatever the case is. I don't know how Figma works to that level, but it's able to detect that based on the classes that are specified, we can use Tailwind. And as you see, this just came up. This is amazing. I mean, I took a second there, I got taken aback for a second. Our technology is amazing. Well, yeah, it's creating the Tailwind configuration. Let's see. Has it installed Tailwind yet? Or is it just, I don't know if, is that in our package.json? Okay, so no, he hasn't installed Tailwind yet. He's just configuring it and then to install Tailwind. Let's see how that goes. So it's creating a main.css file. This is so cool. On a normal day, you'll probably be sipping a cup of coffee, working on something else while all of this is going down, building out the entire Figma design for you while you're doing stuff like this. So I'm going to be checking comments again if anyone has any questions. Yes, Tanya. This is actually so cool. This is so cool. Let me see. Any questions? So David, definitely drop a message in Discord. We'll definitely be able to explore this with you, see if there's anything we can help with, and get it working for you as quickly as possible. All right, let's go back to Goose. Awesome. So that's created the needed files. I think you just created the asset, the CSS files, which is our main, the CSS using Tailwind, and now it's installing the required dependencies. Basically, installing Nuxt.js, Tailwind CSS. Basically, if you think about this, I gave Goose a top level set of instructions, and is able to get the access of each of this, or rather the steps that it needs to complete. And as we go through each of the steps, finding out things that you need to do along the way and doing them by itself, I think it's amazing, right? It is really cool. Yes, and this is also a very great tip. Thank you for mentioning this, Angie. If your LLM chooses Goose to be shy, you can just nudge it, go ahead and change the files. And this is something I like to say about this. Is like if you're talking to somebody and maybe they're anxious or they're nervous or they're shy, sometimes you just need to be like, yo, you can do this. Come on, do this. And then it goes ahead and does that. So that's essentially what this is. Like I described in the beginning, the LLM is essentially the brain, what's it called? Behind this Goose and the tools, but then your arms, your legs, these other things are then functionalities that Goose provides to do amazing work. So we've gotten an update from Goose. It says, awesome, we've been able to install Tailwind CSS as deprecation, but it successfully installed this. This is awesome. And as you noticed, it's running the commands and also giving you the output of the command so you can see what actually happened along the process. You can choose to check this out or just ignore it. And then the next step is giving us an update. The application is now set up with all the necessary components and styling. Based on the Figma design, here's what I've implemented. Navigation bar with logo and menu items. I can't wait to show you guys what the final result is. I don't know what it looks like, but let's see. Basically, all of the section, logo bar section with placeholder logos, skills, the gallery, the contact section. And now it's running npm run dev, but I asked it not to run it for me. So I'm going to stop this right now, and I'm going to open a terminal. Oh, I can use my VS Code actually. So I'm going to use VS Code and say npm run dev. Boom. So this is running. Let's open up a page. Oops, sorry. Boom, boom. So this is what we have right now. We have just the logo bar. Is that correct? Did I go to the right link? Oh, 1 sec. All right, so now we have just the logo bar, which is weird. So I'm going to go back to Goose like, hey, oh, right. Because the files are different, right? We have all the files. Andy, 1 second. Yep, we have all the components here with the sections. So I'm assuming maybe where it's adding the what's it called, the app. We're seeing just the header section. Well, there are a couple of errors here. Oh, I see. A couple of errors. That's probably why. Let me see if I can find anything. Fail to resolve header section. Yep. Only the logo bar. Just like Angie mentioned, sometimes I just need to nudge Goose. I see a couple of comments. I'm going to be right back to that. So only the logo bar is currently showing up. Confirm the file paths, the imports of file paths of components. So I'm going to check out a couple of comments. This is remarkable. Yes, I agree. Thank you. Hey, David Chuka, welcome to the stream. I have a question. Do you consider that it's better for Goose to create a repo folder or have a standard repo already set up and for it to work from there? So this is like 2 parts to a question. To create a repo folder, I sometimes need to create a repo folder, but more often than not, then I need to switch a session or specify the new parts to the the folder, because Goose prioritizes, for safety or security reasons, it prioritizes running in the exact folder that you opened it in. So it's not just gonna like be jumping to other folders. So most of the time, if I have Goose create the folder, I have to remind it to cd into the next folder, or I open up a new session into that folder, right? And then that kind of like shows up. So I can either ask Goose to create the repo folder for me, or I have like just the folder created and I tell it to create the new project in that new folder, in the folder I've created. But at the same time, you can always bring Goose into the what's it called, an existing repository that has code base already. You can do all of that right there because. So yeah, let's check out what Goose is working on right now. So I mentioned that the logo bar is currently showing. That's probably not a very good prompt now that I think about it. So we need to confirm the navigation is the links, right? Oh yes, only the navigation is currently showing up. I remember now, it actually ran into an error a second ago. It said, 1 second, the file part, I think. Yeah, so when it was creating navigation was in a different place. So let's see if Goose is able to fix that for us before we move on. I'm gonna put this to the side and I'm gonna look at the code base while this is loading up. Let me see. Can I see the comments? We have our app to view. So we have the for the code base here. The navigation is top level, and then we have main and the header section. So basically, right now, these components are not showing up, even though we have all of them here within sections. And I'm starting to wonder if it's a what's it called, a view thing, right? Where you need to put a specific, sorry, you need to name the sections in front, maybe like header section logo bar, even though it's called an header and stuff like that. But we'll find out. Let's see what Goose is gonna say. Hey, this is taking a little long, so I'm gonna stop it and ask it, "What's up?" Okay, this is when I interrupt that stuff. I think the terminal is probably running in the background. This npm run dev. Let me open this one more time. Oh, this is running from VS Code. I think the server that Goose started is probably still running. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, that's probably what the issue is. The developer shell is still running. There's a way to fix that in 1 second. I think this is a way terminate C running node processes Mac. Okay, 1 second. That is a lot. Anyways, another thing I can do is start a new session, but I'm trying to like work with this session. But I think because it started the non-deterministic or whatever English it is, this npm run dev, the session is still running in the background. The correct. Now I need to think about the prompt, right? Think about the prompt that fixes the issue. So I'm saying I'm running into some issues displaying the rest of the components. Can you confirm and fix the component parts? If it doesn't work this time around, I'm gonna start a new session because I think this probably glitched it a bit. So let's see. Let's give it a couple of seconds, and we'll get to it. Checking out chats. Yeah, I think exactly. I think it imports some components into the main page. So let's just let's give it a nudge and try and fix that. 1 second. I'm trying to end the process in a different terminal because I think 79271. If that doesn't work, I'm gonna start a new session. I will just go right into it like this. Let's see a couple of seconds more and then get out of here. All right, so I think the session here is stuck. So I'm gonna switch over to a new session and give you the context. Say I have a Next application in the current folder, but only the navigation component is showing up on the main page. Can you fix this? Don't run the server. All right, let's see. It's a new Goose session. Should be able to get the context. Yeah, I'll help you investigate and fix the issue with your Next application. First, examine the current directory structure, and it's basically just catching up with what we've done so far. I'm a little late to the stream. Is the idea to have Goose take full control over building without any human intervention? Yes, with as little intervention as possible. So basically, so far, Goose has taken, I still have the session open. I can do a quick recap. For anyone that is joining just now, I'm going to do a quick recap of what we've done so far. So 1 second, I'm going to bring this guy back over here, and I'm going to take us all the way back to the top, right? Sounds good? Yes. So what we've done so far is we have a Figma design using the Figma extension. Which is this guy. This is our expected final result. So we have a Figma design, and we've connected this using our Figma assets token to Goose, and then we provided the prompt and a set of instructions to Goose to create a Next application, take the design, and use the design to create components in our local repository, whatever the case is. So Goose has taken these instructions, created a Next application, ran into a couple of issues, and fixed those issues along the way. It also analyzes the Figma design, gets all the nodes, all the sections, and then created Next components that match the design that we've already that we provided to Goose, right? So all of those have been done. So right now we've been able to now run the application, and we ran into a couple of issues where only the navigation was showing up. So now we have a new Goose session that is investigating what this issue is for us. So it's like, oh, hey, I'll help you investigate and fix the issue. Let's check the contents. Let's check if the components exist. And it says, hey, I see the issue now. While your app is trying to use several components, only the navigation component sits directly in this components folder. The other component seems to be the section subfolder. Let's check what's in the sections folder. So they are being incorrect. They're being referenced incorrectly. Is this zoomed in enough? So let's fix the app.view file. So it says, hey, I have fixed the app.view file by correcting the component references to match the actual locations. This should now show all the sections. And it says, it did not run the server this time around. I said, don't run the server, and it didn't run the server. And it says, hey, now you can run your development server and all sections should appear properly. Fingers crossed, I'm about to find out. So I'm gonna come over here. Oh, is this probably at 3001? And run this. Oh, that already updated. Nice. So this is our design, ladies and gentlemen, with all of the. Oh, you just shut up. Okay, come on, stop. Yeah. So this is our design, or rather, this is what Goose created for us. So far, so good. And this is our intended design. So we've gone from this submission to Goose to this guy, to this guy. Any comparisons? What do we think? Can I put it side by side? Let's see. I'm going to have chat. Everyone in chat, you're going to rate Goose's effort over 5 or over 10, as the case may be. Let me see. Can I put it side by side? Or is that too much to do? Is that too much to ask? Okay. So this is our design that we submitted to Goose. And this is the final result. Note that I mentioned that Goose is unable to import the images. What do we think? Before I go into anything else, before we go into any adjustments, we haven't written a single line of code so far. We spent a couple of minutes asking Goose. I used to be a full-time front-end developer, so I can imagine how long this would take me. So this is very similar. Although, as you can tell, there are a couple of things that are missing. And this is also where our iteration starts to come in, right? Now, we have a different Goose session. You see, I would say 4/5. Okay, yeah, I'll say 4/5 as a start. Oh wow, you can just plug and play images at this point. Yes, I can literally just plug and play the images at this point. Effort is 10 as liars. Definitely a 10. Let me see another comment. Uh, yes, I haven't written any of this. Goose did all of this. It's a very great start, and then I can start to like give it additional updates like, hey, this is not what I asked you to do. This is what you should do, or make these changes, right? So we're gonna do a couple of that. We're almost out of time. We have about 5 more minutes, or more or less. So I'm open to answering any questions from the comment section so far. But at the same time, we're not just gonna leave right now. We're also gonna like try a couple of iterations and see if we can continue to improve what's it called, the Figma design or the final result of design. So this is amazing, if I may say myself, and I'm excited that we're able to do this live on the stream. You know how live coding can be, or should I say live goosing? No, this is not what I wanted to do. 1 second. That was not what I wanted to do. All right, I want to put the designs together back so I can move away. I hope if anyone else is also trying this out at home, you're making as much progress as I am. This video is recorded, so you can always come back to it or follow any of the steps. What I'm trying to do right now is basically just open up the 1 second. Oh yeah, I see it. Just wanted to bring back the final result. So this is what we have. As you notice, we probably missing some of the text. So I can ask Goose to make some of these changes for me, or I can go to them myself. But what I'm going to do is say, hey, there's a couple of sections missing. But one thing you should also know is that we started a new session right here. So this session doesn't have context the previous session had. Because the previous session had the context of, let me see if I can show you real quick. 1 second. I'm trying to find the second screen. So the second session, the first one we had, was able to, what's the word? Add like the context of the Figma design that we created. So I can also do an experiment, if I may, and ask Goose like, hey, this is the design I'm working with, right? Some of the text are missing. Let's see if he's gonna get it right. Before we run out of time, real quick. First of all, we have to say thanks to Goose. We don't know when these guys will take over, so we have to be nice to them. Thanks. That worked. I'm working with this Figma file. With ID. I'm going to specify the ID I just copied. And some of the text are missing. Yes. So what text are we missing? We're essentially missing, let me zoom this out so we can put it side by side. So we are missing the branding image making, what would I call that? Title header? I don't know what to call that. Let's see. What are we missing here? Yeah, so we are missing some of the text are missing, e.g., branding. Let me see if I can get this correctly. Image making text. What else is missing? Latest work headers. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, or actually, before I do that, so I don't mess this up, because this is a good start, right? And this is actually brilliant. You can always use, what's it called? I copy that text. You can always use additional extensions, right, along with anything you're building, anything you're working with. So I want to point out that you can also find, what's it called? You can also find the default text. This is a built-in extension with Goose called the Git extension. So you can easily like initialize version control to keep track of changes, to keep track of files, so that if anything changes, you're like able to backtrack. This is like a perfect example for that, because I like the starting point that Goose has gotten to. And like Rizal mentioned, AI is not deterministic, so you can do something else different from what I'm about to specify. So it's always a good tip to, what's it called, to track the version, put your files in version control so you can always go. So because I have the Git extension enabled, this is a built-in extension. You can always turn this on your end. It doesn't require any configuration because it's local, so it doesn't require any environment variables. all you have to do is just come to what's it called? Options, settings, and you can enable that and just so you install other extensions. So I'm gonna say thanks Goose, that worked. Like I said, thanks Goose. That worked. Initialize a Git project. Initialize Git in this folder and make a commit with the message. You can always use it in terminal yourself, anyways. With the message initial setup. That's usually my first. That's usually my first commit in every project. So let's see what Goose does here. So right now, we've used the Figma extension to get the file. We've used the developer extension to create the Nox application. Now we're using the Git extension that we have installed to be able to initialize Git in this direction. You say it's already initialized. Interesting. When? Just now? Right. Okay, let me initialize Git. So now it's adding all the files and it's making the initial commit. Let's get back to VS Code real quick. And yep, we can see that all of this is now being tracked as part of Git, ladies and gentlemen. Technology. Let's see. Where does Goose store the session? That's a very good question. There is, do I have this open? 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a guide on the documentation called Managing Sessions. So it's going to give you additional context on where Goose stores, how Goose basically works with sessions. There's currently a different experience between using the CLI or using the desktop. So the desktop, you cannot resume a session at the moment, but with the CLI, you can. And it stores a session like your question asks at this file path every time you create a new session or something like that. So you can go to, depending on what's it called? Your your operating system. It was OS that was in my head. Your operating system is usually stored in the config/goose/sessions folder. So you just need to check when you create a new session. Every single time you create a new session, it kind of like shows the link on CLI. But for desktop, it's always this file path. So you can check that out. I was answering this question where Goose stores the sessions. All right, let's go back to Goose. Perfect. I've completed the following steps: initialized a new Git repository, added all the files to staging, and created initial commit with message initial setup. Awesome. So let's see. We're gonna ask Goose to get context. I'm working with this file with Figma ID. This is our last action, guys. Before we call it a wrap, because I know. Thank you all for being here so far. So we're gonna see what if Goose can get new context, like just find a new design, fetch that design. Check out an existing code base because this is an entirely new session, and then use those like what has been implemented already with what has what's it called with the new information it gets on design and compare both of them. So I'm also gonna have the design open on one side. Let me see if I can have that before I run this. Damn, too many tabs. I apologize. Right, so we have this here. This is what it looks like right now before we make any changes. And I'm going to press enter, drum roll, boom. So we basically just went through different steps. We just did like the developer thing and the Git extension. Now it's checking the Figma file again. We're in an entirely new session. It's investigating the missing text issue. So it's going to fetch the file information first. One possible thing that could have been the case is that, what's it called? If you look at the design, I'm speculating here, by the way. The latest work text might have been in multiple levels because I think with Goose, it kind of specifies how deep it wants to check the nodes. So you say, let me help you fix the mixing file. I see that you're working with a portfolio template and some text elements are missing, specifically these two guys. So let me check the components where this text should be located. Awesome stuff. I see, let me check text where this components should be located. It's checking that again. These are all our files here. Checking the content of the relevant files, updating. That's pretty cool. 1 sec. Waiting for Goose. Waiting for Goose. Right. So it's checking the content. Is it making the changes yet? Okay, not yet. It's checking the editor view. It's checking the skills the view. It's checking the gallery the view. Because the text are missing, it can't just do like a control F for the text, right? So I'm guessing it has to check the files specifically to know which section or something like that. Excuse me. Where? I can see the issue. The missing text is due to the placeholder content in the components. Let me fix this by updating the skills of view. I don't think this is accurate, so we're gonna check our file, see. Ooh, latest work is here, ladies and gentlemen. But I think it has missed where the branding or image should be. But this is latest work that is now added to our code base. Yes, it was checking the depth. So that is progress. Latest work has been added. Let's see. Let's go back to gallery. Yep, this is correct. I think the skills of view one is not accurate because it mixed it up. I think it probably mixed it up with another set of text, which is these guys here, I think. So with the branding, image making, it probably found some other text in here. I don't know. So probably I need to improve the prompt. Like, hey, Goose, something different, right? But yeah, this is just showing how we can provide additional context to Goose, provide Figma, Git, resources, access to make changes, fix any bugs that we might run into along the way. And this has been very exciting also see all of this come to life in so far so good. So we are above the 1 hour time. And I just wanted to point this out to you guys as well. I have run through this entire simulation already, like building this stuff out. And with AI tools, or should I say with LLM specifically, I got something different, but it worked obviously, but there were like tiny differences based on even the same prompt and the same thing. So anytime, like Angie mentioned earlier, let me see if I can put that back on the screen. Always feel comfortable enough. If your LLM is shy, always feel comfortable enough to say, hey, go ahead and do this, go ahead and do that, or just go ahead and make these changes. So I hope this has been very insightful and educational to everybody. You can always use Goose with all of these extensions with Figma. We can find MCP servers online. I'm very excited to find out the ways that designers can also continue to use Goose, whether they can code or they cannot code, or even for engineers that do not know how to work with Figma, in case maybe you're able to bring these designs over to your application and you can make all of these things work. So if we have no more questions, I'm leaving a bit of room for questions. Thank you everyone for stopping by. This is welcome. Thank you for stopping by the first episode of the Goose Flight School. This was exciting to see how what tech can do for us these days, and I'm excited for the next episode and you guys joining us as well. So in the absence of questions, I'm gonna give a couple seconds because I think there might be a lag. Thank you again for coming, and I will see you in the next one. Goose bye. That's a good one. Thanks everyone.